Freshman writing classes are often thought of as gateway classes, but when it comes to English ALP, I prefer to think of them as threshold classes. I think that makes sense in a couple ways, and you guys can tell me if I am making sense, but one of the ways that it's a threshold is that students are kind of dipping a foot like in college and they're not quite sure if they belong or if they should stay. And then the other thing is that if you come onto a college campus and you haven't ever been on one, or maybe even if you have, there are a ton of important offices and resources and rooms that you might want to visit, but they all kind of have scary doors. You got to work up the courage to go over the threshold. One of the things that I've always loved the most about the way that we do ALP here at the College of DuPage is we reduce the threshold problem by bringing visitors into our regular classrooms rather than forcing students to go out and have to open all those scary office doors. Karen, I know when you were here for the inception of ALP, you were one of the people that really focused on that feature. Can you tell us more about how that works?
So the way I tended to organize it in the beginning was I would have like a list of different people that we wanted to bring into the classroom, and for some of them I would schedule them ahead of time for everyone, and then others I would say to the instructors, pick a few more or choose for yourself, or here's this list of other options that you have. So it was kind of a combination of these are our core people and then these are our extra people. And I think from the way I think about it is the importance of bringing them into the classroom is also not just what you said about the threshold thing, which I totally agree with that, but also for our students to be aware of these resource people and these different resources that are available to them on campus can help kind of reduce the stigma of the idea of needing to go for help. There's so many situations where students just feel like they're not entitled to ask for help, or it's wrong to ask for help, or it's shameful to ask for help. And so by bringing the resource people into the class, I think I tried really hard to break down that sense of there's something wrong with getting help. So bringing helpers right into the class and having them work with students directly in the class, I think was a really important move.
So who do you think early college students really need to see? Who do you like to bring in right away?
So I think someone from the Learning Commons is absolutely top of mind. And I often brought someone in from the Learning Commons, but then also we would often go to the Learning Commons and have like a tour. I usually had David Swope, who's the manager for the Multicultural Student Affairs, and he did, every semester he had sort of a different take on his work, and he always talked a lot about students taking responsibility for who they are and for the quality of what they do and who they are as a person. And he was an amazing person for students to connect with. And then I had really good experiences with the career services people. I think something that Rebecca Rivers said to me quite a while ago that has stuck with me for years now is that students very often, when they have issues with motivation, having ideas about the career that they want or the life that they want beyond college really helps motivate them to do better in their college classes. And I think that is a really important piece of wisdom that's really simple and right in front of us, and probably we don't hear about it quite enough.
I just had Rebecca in from Career Services into my ALP section today, and I ran into Nicole and told her that it was not only a great session, but I would really like to rethink some curriculum around it. Because I think that makes perfect sense. If you don't know why you're in school, it's hard to stay motivated to remain.
Well, and then there's a certain percentage of our students who will come to ALP who are undecided.
Right.
They haven't chosen a major. They really don't know what their long-term plan is. And And I'm always very supportive of students who are in that situation. I would never like brush them off and say, well, okay, we'll have to think about that later. But if they can engage with someone from Career Services, even if they don't have a plan, I think it can help them feel like they are part of sort of this larger effort at the college to help people imagine their future in relation to careers and jobs, but also just feel like there's that resource for them, that there's the place to turn.
And they have some pretty neat programs to play around on.
They do. Amazing stuff.
I like the word imagine in this context too. I think sometimes with developmental students, we can get overly focused on the practical. I know one of the suggestions that Mary and Amy had this year was to also bring in study abroad, to do a deeper dive with student life, because these aren't things that are supposed to be luxuries that are only reserved, for certain students. These are supposed to be essential experiences for all interested students.
Yeah.
Student life was fun this year because when I brought them in, my students were like, I didn't even know COD had this, and they lit up. I mean, whether they'll do it or not, I think it's important that they get to see all the different departments and opportunities that we have here.
I also think for me, counseling and advising is the most helpful, simply because students in this smaller classroom setting, they do feel more catered to because the advisor gives them a straight line to contact them. And with our large growing campus, it helps that they have that resource. I also think introducing a counselor at the beginning of the semester, if you're able, shows students early on the resources that they have for the external struggles that we talked about in another segment, right? So if they're needing help with mental health or something that we are not trained or skilled to do, I do feel like they have a sense they're more catered to and that those accommodations are there for them without it being an individual call out, right? Because we don't want them to feel like they're failures in any way, but offering those support systems and direct lines of contact has been really helpful.
Even financial aid, which I used to, when Karen, when you were the one that set it up and we got a smorgasbord of choosing, I was like, I don't want financial aid. Well, now I use financial aid, and the students are always like, this is really helpful. I didn't know X, Y, or Z. And again, like Mary's saying, they have someone's name now.
Yeah.
So.
And we do understand that if you're a new instructor, you may not have those people's names right away, right? So we try in this OER resource to provide a list of potential contacts and to update that list regularly so that you'll also have the point people that you need to give your students the point people